For the past 1 week, as of the time of this recording, I have been consumed by a singular game like I've never been consumed this much before, ever since my crippling League of Legends addiction. Hey guys, welcome back. So this is, as you guys can see from the title, the Dummy's Guide to Arknights Endfield by someone that beat the game. Now, by the definition of beating the game, that is to say, for 1 week straight, at the very first day of server launch on the 22nd of Jan, all the way up until, I already finished this, I finished this script yesterday, so roughly slightly less than 1 week, I have essentially finished every single possible aspect of what Arknights Endfield has to offer, so that I can give you guys a complete analytical breakdown of what to expect for this game, the things you're gonna be doing in this game, and how this free-to-play, yep, my account is free-to-play, this is my own account, completely free-to-play, getting to where it is right here. So without further ado, the very first thing is going to be this thingy. Credentials, right? Prove that I have spent an ungodly amount of hours in Arknights Endfield just so that you guys can have this content today. I didn't do it because I was addicted. I did it for you, chat. I did it so that you guys can see, basically using my time and energy and lack of sleep to give you guys a vision into the future of what it's gonna be like probably 1 month from now, right? I sacrificed my own life force so that you guys can literally see into the future. And also I'm addicted, right? So here are my credentials. My account has essentially reached authority level 51, which most, if not all, players probably won't reach this except for the ultra sweatlords, right? I'm talking day one, you understand how the CBT works, you understand AIC, you push through the story, you clear through every single side quest mission, everything, almost everything this game has to offer, you'll probably be around this benchmark, right? So this is gonna be level 51. To give you an idea of how fast this account progress was, I reached level 43 in 2 days on the stream. On top of all stream grinding it from level 25. So from the second day forth, I've technically already reached endgame, and I spent the next 2 to 3 days to essentially cover everything I missed out, such as building my AIC, building my units, trying the combos, trying the rotations, trying out the combat system, all the different game modes, so that I really truly pretty much just experienced everything, right? So coming into our different segments, our AIC report, so this is gonna be for our AIC side, we have achieved every single mining node in the entire map for both Valley 4 as well as Wuling, because your mining nodes are gonna be limited by whichever ones you unlock, right? So yes, every single 30 per minute over here, it is because I ran across every single map, attaching the pylons to every possible location. So that is gonna be Valley Pass, and then this is gonna be the hub, right? Pretty much every single node always will have a little bit of a power over there, right? And this is gonna be for power plateau. So you kind of just get the idea. I pretty much just went through everywhere, right? All the mining spots has been completely unlocked. And then for our yield, the most important thing you need to carry is basically just these two items, which are going to be your HC batteries as well as your Bug Capsule 8. The final two products that you're going to be using in order to essentially hit the highest level of trade efficiency to provide the locals with capitalism, right? You want to use these products to sell. Now, for a HC battery, it is actually a little bit lower. Why? Because I'm doing this forbidden technique where I transfer my yield from HC battery into Wuling Yazen Silage. Don't worry about it. You don't have to care about how that works, but just know that I pretty much already hit 100% efficiency for both Valley 4 as well as Wuling in roughly on my 4th, if not 5th day. In fact, I have this log. You can kind of just check out our extremely successful recently Twitter account, where I kind of just documented my journey as a free-to-play throughout almost every single day of logging. So the day where I hit my maximum efficiency was around this part. At day 5, everything pretty much all maxed out, right? So that is gonna be my AIC portion over there. And then next is gonna be our regional development. Level 12 for Wuling. I need to stop saying Wuling, by the way. Level 12 for, level 12 for Valley 4. Level 6 for Wuling. Fully maxed out on our stock distribution. So this is gonna be the max for Wuling. Fully maxed out for our node depots. Fully maxed out for the same thing back in Valley 4 as well. Alright, everything is completely maxed out. List of jobs over here, I pretty much use the transfer option. And then this is gonna be our outpost management. Not quite maxed out for this, bro. But these two are gonna be maxed out. And then for our Wuling, it is also going to be at a slower pace. But level 2 is gonna be the max anyways. So pretty much everything from regional outpost, completely done. Check, right? So that's that. For our base building itself, this one is a little bit hard to demonstrate. But you can kind of just imagine that I have unlocked. Okay, I'm gonna just go to this pom-pom over here. Alright, so if you take a look at this, I have pretty much done this core upgrades for every single AIC in the entire map of Valley 4, with the only exception being Power Plateau, because Power Plateau is the most expensive place to actually upgrade. But if I really wanted to upgrade Power Plateau, honestly, I can, because you guys can probably see I have 1.4 million stock bills, right? So the money at this point is not concerned. The reason why I didn't upgrade this is because it doesn't really change anything for me. Because I already amended my base to the point where I am making use of my core AIC to act as the depot bus, so that I can save myself a couple $100,000 to essentially achieve the very same result. This is all me, by the way. This is all me. So TLDR, every single upgrade for all of our AIC has also been unlocked for both Valley 4 as well as Wuling, right? So that is that. Next thing to show is basically our Dijiang. So our Dijiang, I don't really know exactly how do I see the full thing. But essentially, I have I think it's here, right? I have pretty much unlocked full level upgrades for every single one of the portions you can upgrade for a ship. So max level Nexus, max level Resettlement Room, max level cabin as well as max level Growth Chamber. This one is just gonna claim, but don't worry about it for now. Everything here as, okay, also this is also really fast to max out, so it's not gonna be that hard compared to, let's just say, for example, the depot valleys. And yes, I maxed out all my depot valleys as well as the recycling station. And on top of that, I have also almost cleared every single possible side quest. This one is basically just based on your level up. So once you level up, it's gonna be level 4. This one is gonna be like this game's simulated universe, so I didn't really do too much about it. And then this one is basically the companion quest for Leviathan, which I'm saving for stream because I heard that it was really good. And then all these are just like side quests that just pop out like here and there, so I didn't really finish it. But I would say 95% of every single side quest in this game, I've also pretty much done every single one of them, right? And then lastly, my progression for my account, my units as of right now, this is gonna be close to level 90. I actually did not level this up to level 90 because it actually consumes a metric shit ton of EXP as well as T credits, which I'm dying very badly. I would rather build a second team. Personally, I want to race physical, right? Just for purely for the purpose of I want to try different teams. And also, I'm guessing for the endgame content, it is going to be 2-team endgame. So I'm already working on my second team as we speak. So Leviathan is my main with bro. And for my physics team, it's going to be bro, and bro, right? So these 8 units will be my core focus. Everything else, I'm probably just not going to be using. Although I could reach the pen, I'm just gonna be still sticking with Ember purely for waifu purposes, right? I'm not playing the highest possible damage physical team because I'm not using that pen, but I just really like this. And I feel like one of the more important things for this game is that meta, especially when it comes to combat, is irrelevant. You beat everything as long as your level is high enough, and there's no such thing as like a unit or a team cannot beat it. Because this game's focus is really just not about the content, right? So that is pretty much my credentials after basically no lifing this game for like the almost entire week, which is why everything I'm going to be saying to you guys today is like the condensation of how your account can look something like this as a free-to-play. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but eventually something that you can strive going forward in the future. One last thing before we go on to the next topic, which is gonna be the number of pulls that I have done. So this is gonna be my current income as a free-to-play. We essentially have a grand total of 21,920 of the Ori barrels, as well as 7,650 in terms of premium currency, bringing our total pulls to a 59 pulls total plus 4, which is going to be 63 pulls. And I did a grand total of 70 78 pools. Yeah, it is 78 pools over here. So as a free-to-play, I have earned a grand total 59.14 plus 78 plus 4, 141 pools. So this, as a complete free-to-play, after playing this for around a week, 141 limited pools. So if I were to go on right now, I can pretty much get 141. Don't do that, by the way. And also, I'm going to be talking about all the things that we need to say, so don't worry about it. And then for the standard pools, I did a grand total of 102 standard pools. Oh wait, I have 2 more guys. Hold up. I have 2 more. Okay, it will be pretty funny if we get a 6-star right now. Okay, no, don't worry about. So 104 standard pools and 141 limited pools, right? Okay, now we can get into the actual content itself, because I'm sure every single people knows what is going on. All right, I am gonna be splitting this entire guide or like walkthrough into 4 main segments. I made like a very, very lengthy and detailed breakdown for you guys so that you guys can have the best understanding. So it will be essentially split into objective, combat, AIC, and then a progression timeline of roughly what you're gonna be looking at. And at the very, very end of the video, it is just gonna be a summary of what I found after essentially, you know, quote unquote, like beating the game, right? So the very, very first thing that I think you would probably need to do is to have an objective in Arknights Endfield, especially if you're gonna be a new player into the series and you only come from a game such as, for example, Genshin Impact, Wilding Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, or Honkai Star Rail, which are gonna be like the more mainstream gacha games, and you have never really felt something like this ever, because the gearing system, the progression system, even the account levels, it is like very, very different from what you have been playing for probably the past couple of years. So you need to first set yourself an objective so that you will have a much easier time knowing where to aim, right? So at the current point, the very first step in your objective is to take everything you know and throw them out the window. Because, wait, hold up. I just realized we should say that with Professor Poke glasses for plus 10 width. So in order to get a good grasp of Arknights Endfield, first, take everything you know about mainstream gacha progression and throw them out the window. Because Arknights Endfield uses a very, very unique system. So for example, your account level, even if for example I'm level 51, it literally just means nothing aside from unlocking more MSQs. And if you were to progress your account levels too fast, because you want to rush like level 65 to farm gears, all that kind of stuff, right? Like theoretically speaking, you want to rush levels so you can unlock higher efficiency farming stages. It does not work that way. In fact, it can literally be detrimental to your overall experience because you are going to be overwhelmed with too many new things. Because at level 43, which is essentially this game's current endgame, you will unlock a whole other area, whole other sets objectives, right? Your gearing system, your essence, your ethics, all these things, it will be on top of your value 4, which you probably do not even understand what's going on if you decide to speed run through account level just for the sake of speed running, right? So take your time, keep things simple, and only proceed when you are comfortable with where you are. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to feel pressure to go to Wuding just because content creators like myself, or we just speed run the game because, you know, we have no life, right? And also, we also kind of just get where I'm taking my own steps. So even though I speed run, I know where I'm running towards. If casual players and new players, y'all want to speed run through your Wuding, you might probably just end up in the middle of nowhere in like the forest, and you have nowhere to go, right? So just for your own consideration. And with that being done, like I said, your account levels are only going to be used for your account progression. So the main checkpoints from the CBT, even to the live stream, there was a little bit of changes, but you can kind of split them into 3 main things, which I'll be showing you guys right here. So this looks a little bit big, but just trust me, I have essentially made up this nice little table where you can split your progression 3 key things with 3 key levels. Your early game, which is sub-account level 34, your mid-game, which is 34 to 43, as well as the end game, as you transition from 43 onwards, which is basically when you finish up Wuding, right? So your 3 most important things is pretty much going to be your units, your regional development, as well as your AIC. To be fair, AIC is a little bit tied to your regional development, but you don't have to worry about it too much. So for your early game, these are the things. I'm just going to let my editor pull this up in a screenshot. You can read for yourself. You can screenshot. You can use it for your own reference. Feel free. Very good. So to kind of just summarize this table, I don't want to go through everything and take up too much of time. Essentially, at every single point of the game, there are different things that you would do at that specific level. So for example, your regional development, you're probably going to be a 1-1 for your valley. You haven't even unlocked your ruling. You cannot trade your purple materials in a valley level 1. You need to match the quality of goods for that valley. So another example, you cannot farm your purple gears if you cannot even maintain blue gear efficiency because you have not unlocked enough mining spots. So at every single point of the game, as you unlock more of these like mining outputs, right, you get more of these materials, you understand how the progression for your base actually looks like, as well as slowly upgrading everything one by one, then it will follow a very natural process so that by the time you reach to the next phase, you wouldn't feel overwhelmed just because, you know, okay, I want to speed run through all the way to the end of level 43, right? So if you, for example, went from early game, you only want to care about account level, you just completely ignored your mid game, right? Hold up. Like this entire part, you just don't give a shit. And you want to just speed run to end game, you realize that your account will be in a very, very weird spot because your value is still 1-1. And your depots are still producing like C, right? And if you want to try and get your A production, it will either be completely unsustainable or you literally cannot even trade them because your value level is too low, right? So to kind of summarize, keep this with your benchmark according to your player levels. At this point, which is pre-ruling at level 43, is where you should start wrapping up your mid game. And once you're comfortable with whatever this is going to be, you can then go on to the next chapter, right? So that's it. So that is pretty much gonna be for our objective portion. Now we're just gonna jump straight into the combat of Arknights Endfield. So personally for me, I would still find the combat of a game, which is like the meat and potatoes for any game that I'm going to be playing, the most important aspect as to whether or not I will enjoy the game itself. Even though Arknights Endfield, the AIC is a massive component, it is not the component they're going to be playing forever. Because for AIC, the moment you finish everything up at 100% efficiency, you are never going to look at it ever again. Like I mentioned to my chat, it is like building a Lego, right? You are slowly going to take on pieces, step by step. You follow the instruction, it's going to be very long. Some of the parts will be very difficult. Some of the parts will be very easy. And then the moment when all the pieces come together and you finally make that Lego set, you will then leave it at the display shelf and you'll just admire it. It is the exact same thing as AIC. The process at the start is going to be, oh my god, right? It is so difficult, right? Some of the parts that you just cannot understand why. But once it is done, it is done. And the remainder of the game will actually be focused on the combat. And if you cannot click with the combat because you hate the way it plays and everything, then this game might not be the game for you, right? On top of the AIC thingy, which is going to be also a huge component, right? So the combat can be essentially summarized as Genshin elemental reaction system with similar Zenless Zone 0 controls, but not fully, right? So to trim everything out, because we're probably going to be doing dedicated guides for different teams in the future on Pokecorp, I will just keep the main meat and potatoes for this game right here. Every single team in Arknights Endfield will follow the same logic, which is you are playing to your elemental inflictions or the elemental reaction system for Genshin Impact mains, and depending on how your team is structured, you will then have different ways to trigger these reactions for the highest possible amount of damage. So in that sense, your roles in the team are also split into 3 main roles. Your main DPS, your sub DPS, and your support/sustain. Almost like your Zenless Zone 0 / Warning Waves kind of like action games, right? 3 men. So for your main DPS, they are usually the one that will consume the elemental inflictions of the reactions for the highest possible damage number or having additional effects that will benefit your entire team. So whoever is the one consuming elements, they are usually the one that you're playing on field, right? Sometimes there might be a little bit of like a niche case. For example, you can play Endmin off field and use Endmin as the one consuming, but generally speaking, that is going to be the main DPS where your damage is going to be coming from. For your sub DPS, you can also kind of see them as like the battery. Sort of like how Teaming gives you battery or like Bronyon gives you extra very advanced. They are responsible for providing set elemental reactions, right? You want to give these reactions and inflictions for the main DPS in order for the main DPS to consume and deal big damage, which is why you probably came across a lot of team building guides almost every single core team that are performing well, it is usually a main DPS that can consume reactions for a very, very big amount of damage, as well as a sub DPS that can provide set infliction at a very fast pace. Best example right now is basically Levitate as well as Wolfguard. Wolfguard has very good heat inflictions, and Levitate consumes it to do like absolutely insane amounts of damage, right? So that's gonna be that. And you can see that some other teams are gonna be less strong, doesn't do damage as fast, but nonetheless still workable. So for example, right now, Cryo team doesn't really have a proper sub DPS because Zalki cannot apply cryo inflations as fast compared to say Wolfguard. So your overall main DPS damage output is gonna be more negative in matter, right? So that is sort of like the general gist of how these two units will perform. And then lastly is gonna be your support. So your support is basically kind of like your Verena, right? Kind of like your Ashra Yao, right? They will give you damage amplification via either buffs or debuffs, or sustains via heals or shields. Now, there are a lot of different reactions, even cross-element reaction, like for example, the Shadow team, where you combine cryo and physical. But honestly, you don't really have to worry about it for the most part, because the main one right now is usually mono element. For example, mono physical, mono heat, mono cryo, right? Sometimes cryo add a little electro here and there, as well as at this point mono electro. We do not have a nature DPS team because there's no such thing as a main DPS nature 6-star, while electric actually works because all of them are DPSs, even though they're 5-star, right? So that's gonna be that. Now, there are other alternative elemental units to trigger special reactions. So for example, your Ardelia is a nature unit. So why would you run Ardelia with Levitate, right? So if you can come back to this screen over here. So if you can see Levitate's combo skill, it will trigger with either combustion or corrosion. And it just so happens that Ardelia can trigger corrosion with her combo skill. And this combo skill's trigger condition is very easy to fulfill because you just need someone to perform a final strike with no stacks of vulnerability or arts, which is super easy when you combine this with Levitate. That's why these two units will work hand in hand, even though they're not in the same element. So as long as you do this thing called reading, you will see how some units can still perform, but generally following the same concept of applying elemental inflictions and reaction, then consuming elemental infliction and reaction. Then you just copy and paste this for pretty much every team in Arknights Endfield. Now, I would like to kindly divert your attention over here. So this is gonna be a sample of a screenshot I'm showing right here. I think the B-rolls will be playing in the background where I basically did a full Leviathan Heat team with almost perfect rotations against our Rodan, right? Over here, just to see like, an example of how Element is gonna be able to work in this game. So this is essentially your combat battle screen, right? So I think we can use Paint because Paint is one of the best apps in the whole world. So from what you see in this battle screen, there are 4 main things that goes into Arknights Endfield's combat: your basic, your skill points, your ultimate, and your combo skill. That is everything that can summarize as little as possible, right? So your base attack is just basically whatever this person is doing right here, right? They will always do their base attack change. This will be holding true for both the main DPS as well as all 3 other units. They will always keep doing their basic attacks in the background. But for your alternative units in the background, their basic attack speed is actually really slow, especially the AI is going to be a little bit silly, so you don't have to worry about it too much. So for different basic attacks, you don't really care about the initial portions because they don't really do anything. They don't do any stagger. They don't give you any energy. You only really care about the finisher attack, right? The finisher attack is the only attack in Endfield that deals stagger damage as well as triggering special interactions. For example, Levitate's finisher should consume the inflictions to get Melting Flames for herself, right? So at this current point of time, there's also a special base attack, which is like a break attack. I'm not really sure what's the name, but it's like when the enemies break for the first time, you can see this toughness bar. This toughness bar, once this thing reaches this point and it becomes yellow, that is when you will do a singular special break attack, which will regenerate a ridiculous amount of skill points, as well as dealing substantial damage for the rotation I'm going to be talking about, right? So that's pretty much it for the basic. Don't have to worry about it. And then for your skill points, which are your skills, it is going to be essentially, yeah, these are your skills, right? But for your mobile players, your skills will be somewhere here, right? This is somewhat for a mobile player experience. So you can just click it once, don't hold, you click it to activate, consume 1 skill point, which is a yellow thing, and you let go of 1 skill. For this particular segment over here, There isn't a hard rule for which units can use skill point, but skill point generation is pretty slow across the board, except for some niche cases like Arknights, or if you were to use a finishing attack for your actual main DPS. So you need to allocate your skill points very carefully between who uses the skill points more. So maybe at the start, you'll give your skill points to Wolfguard, you'll give a skill point to Arknights to generate stacks for Leviathan, and then towards the end, then you start giving your skill points to Leviathan to deal more damage for yourself, right? So different teams wear different rotations, and that's pretty much it. On the same bullet point, which is gonna be your skills over here, there's also this little button that will light up. It will literally start brightly shining, and that's essentially your ultimate. So for your ultimate, energy in this game is very, very fixed. You do not get energy from getting hit like HSR. You do not get any energy from basic. You only gain energy, generally speaking, from your battle skill as well as your combo skill. So for example, Leviathan, even though her ultimate is 300 energy cost, right? The rotation for Leviathan is actually super straightforward, which is either you perform 3 full rotations of 0 energy recharge. So you will need a full rotation of like your 4 stacks of Melting Flame plus 1 of the combo towards the end, or you give her 25% energy regeneration, which you can then allow her to only spend 2 rotations to get the ultimate. So a lot of these units, the energies are super, super fixed, and I would say that ultimate recharge for a lot of, like, for example, supports and sub DPS would be extremely important. So like this game, it actually allows all the way up to, for example, let me just come here, right? Like for example, I agree, she actually goes all the way up to 84.3% energy regeneration, because you can have energy regeneration main stat for every single one of the gears. So some units can actually have very, very fast up times, but obviously you wouldn't run this for main DPS because you still want to actually do damage towards the end, right? And then one last thing is pretty much going to be this button here, and that is going to be your combo skill. So your combo skill, you can see it will only be available from this thing. So if the bar over here is not white, you cannot activate a combo skill. So a good tip in mind is just always glance to your bottom left a little bit here and there, just to see if you can use your skill to trigger whatever combo skills they have, right? So for this case, Leviathan is the only one with the white combo skill, which is why you can actually trigger off this combo skill right here. And the rest of the stuff in the same UI, they're just buffs, right? They're all the different buffs that are going to be able to deal more damage for a team, whatever that is going to be. So generally speaking, Arknights Enfield's combat is pretty much Genshin plus Zenless Zone 0. It is not going to be your main objective, especially at the start of the game. But this will pretty much be the only thing left you can play, at least as of where this game is at the current moment. Because like I mentioned, once you finish up your AIC, there is not too many things left to do. Then you'll pretty much just do like silly, like, I don't know, one-man clear content for your re-crisis, do a couple of runs in your the SU, right? Maybe when they introduce more of the endgame content in the future, we'll have more things to do. But combat is pretty much something you can focus on. Mainly, I would say for new players, you are probably struggling against the story boss. I have actually a lot of comments where players literally cannot beat the story boss, because the story boss in this game is actually no joke. Especially for someone that's like new to the series, and you would think it's like, oh my god, it's like HSR or it's like Warring Waves, and like they just give it a win. No, bro. This game's story boss is legitimately not easy. So don't feel like, oh my god, I can't even beat the story, I suck. Just take your time. Don't worry about it. And eventually, when you understand this combat systems, as well as the boss themselves, you'll have a much better time going forward into the game itself, right? Okay, with that out of the way, I'm gonna come into the main grievances of most players and why a lot of so-called tourists actually get filtered in Arknights Endfield. And that is going to be the AIC system, right? So Arknights Enfield's AIC, it is something that you can never run away from, even with blueprints. And it is the best way I can think of this. So if you can't imagine like the Lego set, is like building your own PC versus a custom built PC, assuming the custom built PC is free in the form of a blueprint. Arknights Enfield's progression, your gears, your levels, your regional development, all the missions, everything ties into AIC, right? So in a sense, this is actually a one-time clear end game content. And once you beat the game, so for example, when you get yourself full yield efficiency at this current point of time before any updates, you can consider yourself a 3-star end game clear. That's it. It is not refreshable. And I guess in a sense, when it refreshes, is that if they introduce more regions, right? More Wuling areas, then you will need to do more AIC building again. But once this is done, and you will never ever look at it ever again, at least for this current point of time, right? So the game mode, which is AIC, it is kind of the game mode that essentially makes Arknights Endfield called Arknights Endfield. It looks like a very, very, very daunting process. And you are probably thinking, there's no fucking way I will ever do this. I am not going to learn it. It's going to take hours. Even with improvement, I don't even know what the hell is going on. Frankly, you are kind of right. It is a process that will take quite a bit because you are new, right? It is like riding a bike for the first time. You don't really know exactly how do you position your center of gravity. How do you even keep the wheels straight? Do you turn here? Do you turn there? But the only purpose for all these things, it is ultimately boiling down to a single point. Money. All right. That is all AIC is, right? The entire game mode of AIC, it is about money, right? It is about introducing capitalism to the locals by selling them your products that you make in exchange for their stock bills. You will do this for Valley 4. You will do this for Wuling. You will do this for any region in the future. And the moment you understand this, it's like, okay, how can I make money the most efficient way possible with as little wastage as possible? And then at this point is where everything will become a lot more straightforward, right? And the main thing is, for your outpost management, for your stock redistribution, you are all ways that you can make stock bills. So for example, right here, you can make money a lot of ways in Arknights Endfield. All right, so if you were to come here, well, you will earn this via, for example, your elastic goods, where you're going to be able to buy and you're going to be able to sell them to your friends. You can also earn money from your depot notes, where you literally become a delivery man. You're going to be an Uber driver. You will go around giving your jobs to others, or you're going to be taking other jobs so that you can earn money. I would love to accept this, but it is what it is. So with that being established, the money you are getting here, it is directly correlated with your progression in your gears. You remember how, like, most Gacha games, your gears are determined by spending stamina, right? You want to farm your traces. Not traces, sorry. You want to farm your relics. Your relics, your gears, your echoes, you will be dumping all your stamina in the end game to farm this. Technically, it is also the same for Arknights Endfield, but there is one key difference, which is this particular item. All those money that you have spent collecting, right? You're a millionaire, you have so much. It is actually not even that much, because the actual item you're buying is this: the Valley engraving permit for Valley, as well as, hold up, the Wuling engraving permit and the Wuling artificing catalyst. These are the three main items that you're going to be getting in order to ensure a much smoother endgame progression. So if you want to think about it, it is going to be shown from this little infographic that I did last time, right? This thing resets on a weekly basis, right? Not monthly, on a weekly basis. So ideally, by endgame, when you settle on your AIC, you will be earning so much money, you can pretty much buy every single one of these, which will then make you progress your endgame gear at a much more efficient pace compared to someone that only spends stamina, right? So that is pretty much it. Aside from this, I would say that AIC itself is also going to be tied to your regional development, right? So the better your AIC is going to be, the more efficient you're going to be getting at earning money. A little bit just like in real life, is like the better you are at doing your job, the more money you can actually earn from the actual job, right? So I'm talking about all these regional levels that are eventually going to be able to unlock in the future. So at this point, the goal to aim for in AIC, you can see from this right here. This is the end game goal. 18 for this purple thing, 18 for this battery thing. This is 17 because I'm doing some min-maxing thing. And then for your Wuling, it is going to be 6 for your Yazan syringe, as well as 6 for your Wuling battery, right? A little bit here and there minus because I'm doing my own customizations, but that will be the main goal for essentially best efficiency you can currently get as of the current technology level that we have, as well as the money output level that we have, right? So with that being established, the most important thing for the entirety of AIC is you don't want to overcomplicate things, right? Because like I mentioned, if you take a look at simply just from the layout, it's like, oh my god, bro, there are so many things. How the hell am I gonna be able to manage all these different things, and not just in one base, in like 6 different bases all at the same time? Frankly speaking, it is actually a lot easier than you think, because like I mentioned at the start, there is only one singular objective, which is to make money, right? And everything would then fall into place, because if all these things are done with this thing called the blueprints, that is why I would say that casuals using blueprints, but also understanding why you're using said blueprints, is pretty much all you need for AIC. You don't actually need to understand exactly step by step how do you make this, because this is like for aesthetics, right? It's to look nice or whatever. All you really need is just use blueprints. Okay, why do I want to use a 6 per minute blueprint for Hasty Berry? Why do I want to use a 6 per minute Bug Capsule A, right? So all these things would then make your life easier, because as long as you hit the money earning criteria, you are pretty much set for AIC. Now, keep in mind that for your early game output levels, you cannot accept probo quality goods like I mentioned at the start. So don't jump over and you want to speed run into Wuling. You want to make probo goods, but you can't even sell them to locals at level 1, which was something that actually happened to me for a little bit. So keep in mind, and do not overexpand your AIC upgrades like your expansions and depot masters, because yes, having bigger land mass means you can produce more things, but there's no point being able to produce more things if your yield cannot support, right? I will talk about this way more detailed in a future video, but just know that this number should always be higher than this number, right? You should always want to use it so that you don't actually go into bankrupt, right? So, like I mentioned in the previous portion, which is your early game progression stages, early game, green goods, right? Your Bug C, all right, your LC batteries, mid game, blue goods, right? Your Bug B as well as HC, and then late game, purple goods, right? Your Bug A as well as SC, and then eventually the Wuling LC. So generally speaking, and think of this as, if you're going to be playing Memory of Chaos, right? MOC 10, MOC 11, MOC 12. You can't skip MOC 11 and do MOC 10, MOC 12. You have to actually do MOC 11, right? So that's going to be my last tip, and with that, we are going to move on to essentially my progression timeline I've actually achieved as our free-to-play account has taken from day 1 all the way to now, which I think is going to be a lot easier if we just see this. Just play to watering waves. There we go. All right. You can kind of just read this by yourself. I will be having a link somewhere over here so you can just kind of read it to kind of summarize everything, right? For my entire progression over here, it is not meant to be copied, right? Do not copy what I did for my free-to-play account, because like I mentioned at the very start of the video, the only reason why I went through this so fast is for you, alright? It's for you who are watching this video right now. So I did all of the work, sacrificed all of my sleep to increase the speed of my development as a free-to-play, so that you in the future watching this video can know what to expect without actually sacrificing all your sleep, right? I did it for you, Chad. So
thank you, right? Thank you, MrPokke. Very, very good, right?
So don't copy this, but you will see that at each individual checkpoints, there are things that you can try to update and do so that your account will eventually follow to that step, and it basically means you're going to be heading towards the right direction, right? So for day 1, I speedrun from level 1 to 21 all in. There was a soft cap at level 25, but I stopped on stream because I was streaming this game for like 10 hours. And I resumed playing it off stream. So I went from level 21 to level 28 the very next day. Which is not too good, right? Don't do this. I skipped the story for myself personally because I played the early portions of this game like twice already in CBD2 and CBD3. For my starting units, I pretty much just used Ember because she was my first 6-star, and I got a Ardelia. So at this point, I have like E2 Ardelia. I don't even know what I get a lot of Ardelias, not anything about it, but don't even worry about it. Then my very first team is with Ember, Chen, and Min, alongside with Ardelia, right? So one was from the beginner, then one was from the Agile Standard Pools. Very comfortable early game with Stagger hitting a lot of enemy actions. In fact, I think this is probably one of the best tips I can give to a free-to-play, or if you're a new player. Use physical team if you have no idea how this game works at all, because this game really wants you to have a good experience by giving you not one but 2 different physical DPSs, being Enmin as well as Chen, and they both work exceptionally well with one another, right? So on top of that, half of the 6 stars are actually physical. Li Feng is physical, Pokke is physical, Amber is basically physical even though she's hit, but she literally is physical. So the game has a lot of ways to make you form physical, and the reason why physical team is so good for early game progression, I would dare say even better than level 10, is because it is super easy. Because physical is kind of like the super break of Arknights Endfield, where the attribute is different from all the other art reaction system, where you will stagger the enemies faster. That is the whole gimmick. You stagger and you break them faster, which means a faster break, just like super break in HSR, they won't attack you, right? They will be knocked down, they will be crushed and all that kind of stuff, and you have more windows of opportunities to deal as much damage as possible. So if there's one tip, you have no idea who to roll, reroll and everything, all else fails, raise a physical team, you will not regret it, right? So that's pretty much it. Aside from that, you can just mainly run on the world, explore, progress through the levels to the side quests, and eventually reach towards the start of your mid game, right? For myself, I finished up my mid game, which is level 34, all the way to end game in a single, not even a single day, in a single stream. Right, so I went from, I think when I started streaming, it was like level 20 or something. This is basically day 2, right? So this is day 1. So day 2, literally at the 4 a.m. reset, if y'all were there, we hit level 43 at the 4 a.m. mark on the dot. So in 2 days, I basically progressed all the way to the story. Again, it is not meant to be copied. Do not do this. Just take your time. Don't rush for it. I only did this so that, okay, I'm not going to say it, but you know what? You know what I did, right? So at this point, after grinding through the story so much, I have gotten 74 limited pools with the additional 10 pool the game gave out because of the 30 million downloads. So at this point, I will also just like to point out, yes, you are going to be getting a shit ton of pools in this game at the start as a free-to-play. But I actually have this as my concern, which I'm going to talk about in my review video, which is 80% of these sources that we're getting, they are one-time sources. And we don't even have an idea of how is the Gacha income like gonna be, because we are missing a lot of events, we're missing a lot of endgame content, we are missing basically all of the possible sources of income that can allow players to essentially manage what appears to be a triple banner per version, right? So I would say this income is a little bit concerning if you do not want to pull level 10 because you're scared that in the future you might not have enough pulls for another limited 6 star. Just don't pull, right? Literally just don't pull, because normal people will never hit 74 pulls in 2 days. Never, right? You are probably hitting this like 1 week later. Probably, right? Maybe even longer than that. But generally speaking, just don't worry about this too much. And if you're scared that you simply cannot play the game enough to get yourself this, I would say, 120 pulls, do not commit, right? Even though the game gives you a lot of free pulls, like the level 10, the fire trailblazer, right? You get a free temple, right? Don't worry about it, right? Then just go on to the next one. So before this particular level 10, I invested my Ember as well as Ardea to level 60. In hindsight, I have no regrets raising Ember to level 60 because I mentioned I want to make 2 different teams, one being physical. And before I actually got level 10, my level 60 Ember actually carried me so hard through the story because physical team was just that good, right? All the staggers, all the damage, it made it really, really comfortable, even though my end minion was level 20 and my chat was level 40. And we kind of just blazed through with the Ember and Ardea wheelchair, offering a lot of comfort on that regard, right? And at this point, from level 43 onwards is where I actually started to focus on AIC. So, you know how I mentioned just now, I showed you guys a chart where you don't want to rush, you want to take it step by step, right? There's no point in running through a story. For me, because time is so limited, I could not even spend time to focus on AIC. I was simply just blitzing through the story because I already know in my mind what to aim for by the time I reach Uling. So, even though I was rushing, I had a intention of exactly where I'm going to be heading towards. So despite me rushing, by within the 4th to 5th day, my progression basis was already more or less settled, right? But do not do this if you have no idea what you're actually doing. So just once again, take your time, and take your time. Okay, next is gonna be pretty much my biggest power spike in the entire progression, which is gonna be our day 3, where I basically reach level 48. Yep, it is just that amount of playtime. At this particular point, which is literally in 3 days, I have unlocked every system in the game, as well as pretty much on track to finishing up the team by unlocking the gold crafting gears abilities, right? At this point, my AIC was not fully settled, but it is from this moment on where I know the rest of my attention is going to divert back to AIC, right? So I went through all the way in the story. Then now that I finished up everything the story has to offer, I will then go back to AIC because I have a blueprint. I have literally a blueprint as well as intentions on what I want to build, which is going to be my Uling LCs, right? My Bug A, my Gold Gears and everything. So it was a lot easier for me to transition even though I speed ran through, right? So the biggest upgrade is going to be here because before you reach Uling, you do not have this thing called the Gold Gears. And this is a little bit more of a preference between the community. You could either craft purple gear, or you could just skip purple gear and jump straight to gold gear, which is what I did. I would say you need to craft at least one set because it is for your beginner missions. But generally, it just depends if you are okay with playing on blue gear against the story bosses. That is the only thing, right? If you can beat the story bosses on blue gear, like for example, MrPokke. What the fuck? Oh my god. Then it doesn't matter, right? Then you don't even need to get your purple gear because you would have beaten pretty much all of the content that the combat has to offer you because the majority of the game doesn't need you to have a good team in terms of combat. The majority of the game after story, it is gonna be purely tied on your AIC progression, right? It is gonna be built on bases, exploring, mining, talking to the locals, and it has nothing to do with actual team development. So if you wanna skimp out on your purples, by all means go ahead. But if you are not able to clear story comfortably, then please just craft your purples because it doesn't really take that much time. It would maybe save you back a little bit at the start because you are gonna be spending your stock bills. But if you need it, just do it, right? Don't worry about it. Then this is pretty much gonna be my last day. I basically combined day 4 and day 5 into one, where at day 5, I have beaten AIC. So at this point on, it is gonna be where I pretty much just wrap up everything. By beating, I basically say I have a set of blueprints. I have essentially crafted by both myself as well as my community to fit my personal needs because at this point, I already fully understand the AIC system. It is not super deep. I'm going to be making a dedicated video in the future. So I've achieved all of these zeros by day 5, which is double 18, regional 11, as well as fully maxing every single possible upgrade that I'm going to be able to have on my account, right? So at this point over here, because I did not craft my purple gears, it actually allowed me to save my stock bills to get these upgrades a little bit faster, which means I gotta make a little bit more money just that one day of difference in order to make my account progress to as soon as where it's gonna be. So with that, that is pretty much everything you need to know about Arknights Endfield from the guy who basically beat the game in 5 days. It's a free to play. To kind of summarize everything, right? So these are just gonna be the main points. If you skip for the past 40, oh my god. For the past 51 minutes for this mega guide, you can just jump to this portion and I summarize everything here, right? So, account level don't matter. The only thing that matter is going to be your regional development from your outposts and doing missions. They will affect your mining yield and other things, but mining is going to be, you literally need miners, right? You need your miners to work hard, which is going to be your machines, in order to progress your endgame gear as well as yield for everything you're going to be able to do, right? Number 2, you only focus on a single main DPS, right? You do not focus level 80s for multiple units. All supports in your team should stay at level 60 out of 80. You ascend them just for the sake of giving them gold gears, but level 60 is completely fine. Then all other resources should be just on your main DPS. I personally am going to be raising a second team, so I don't want to raise the level 90, but if you want to raise the level 90, you could. Just make sure that your supports don't go beyond level 60 because resources and stamina is very tight, right? So for example, my Ardelia is a little bit of a mistake, and I wish I kind of just level 60 because I don't really care if she's level 80. My Wolfguard and Argry is going to be at level 60, so they are going to be able to equip the gold gears, which is going to be the highest efficiency. Number 3, if you are having issues in the early game as well as story bosses, which is definitely not a free boss like I mentioned, do not be afraid to take your time, level up, get purple gears, and even if just getting the purple gear set is gonna be making a world of difference. So for example, there's like a purple gear set which gives you energy regeneration, which is really big, especially for units that levitate. If you know how the game works and you can take on the bosses with lower quality units, then feel free to do so, but don't be afraid to go ahead and go a little bit of a detour. Number 4, your side quests, missions, and aspiration, they're all very important. So they give you a lot of premium currency. So for example, right, if a main story quest gives you like 200-300 premium currency, a random chest in the overworld could give you like 100 or like 150. Same thing for side quests. So the game actually spread out their pools extremely wide. And it's not just like you finish MSQ, you get like 10 pools. It is more like if you explore the map, all these different like nooks and crannies will actually give you the pools, which will eventually then add up to the number of pools you will need for a limited banner. Second last thing, the key level check is gonna be 34 to 43, which will be a very big gap for most players. And at level 43, when you go to Wuling, is where you see gold gears be made. So before this point, simply doing your missions can actually farm you very quickly from level 1 to 34. So you don't have to worry about the level by that much. And last but certainly not least, AIC is not something that you can ignore. And you absolutely have to do it with either a DIY or a blueprint. I'll be programming up my blueprint guide very, very soon, so you can just kind of yoink and paste and hopefully get a better understanding, because this system is not going to be going away at all, right? So I would dare say, at the end of everything, Arknights Endfield is an experience that really reminds me of what it feels like for it to be a game first and gacha second. This video was not sponsored. In fact, this video was sponsored by our account.